Hi, I'm Louise Digby, a registered nutritional therapist and founder of the Nourish Method to lasting fat loss. And today I'm here to talk to you about why we don't do calorie counting in the Nourish Method. I know calorie counting is something that many people rely on to remain in control of what's coming in, what's going out in terms of their calories, and also to try and stay on top of their weight management. And for some people, it works really well. For others, it doesn't work at all. They just, no matter how well they count their calories, they just don't see progress. And for others, it does work, but it's a real hard slog. It's not very fun. So there's several reasons why we don't really, very, very rarely use calorie counting in the Nourish Method. And I thought I'd talk you through them today to help you gain a better understanding of the alternatives and what you can do instead of calorie counting. So first of all, calorie counting and trying to figure out how many calories you need is a very controversial approach to managing your weight, because when you're trying to figure out the calories that your body needs, it's really variable. One day you might need 2,000 calories, the next day you might need 1,500, the next day you might need 1,800. It's all over the place, and part of the reason for that is because it will depend on things like your activity levels, how well you've slept, how stressed you are, how much brain activity there is. Are you doing work that requires a lot of concentration? Also where you are in your menstrual cycle. There's many things that impact what your calorie needs are, and so it's very difficult to predict what that lower limit is so that you can get into a calorie deficit each day. And that is something that even when you're standing on those scales that tell you your metabolic rate, it's still based on a few rudimentary calculations that aren't really all that accurate in terms of you knowing exactly what your body needs, and therefore what level of calories you need to consume to be able to lose weight. So that's one reason why we don't do that, because it's not a very clear-cut way of doing things. Secondly, we find that for so many people who have done calorie counting or something similar like counting points or sins, that it really develops a very negative relationship with food. You end up thinking of foods as high calorie, low calorie, or fattening, slimming, rather than looking at the nutritional value. And the thing is that there are many foods that are very nourishing, very rich in nutrients, yet are high in calories. And there are many foods that are very low calorie, yet are not very nutritious and can be very inflammatory for you as well. And as you'll see as we get further into this video, that's a really bad thing if you want to lose weight. And your relationship with food is absolutely key to your long-term success, because having a good relationship with food means it's less likely that when something bad happens, you're going to go and binge eat or emotionally eat. And it also means that, if you're not seeing as fast a progress as you'd like, if you've got a really good relationship with food, you're going to be able to keep going, and although progress might be slow, you're going to be able to keep going and get there eventually. Whereas if your relationship with food is bad, the likelihood is that you're going to keep falling off the wagon and be stuck in this dieting cycle where you're really good for a few days, likely during the course of a work week, and then not so good on the weekends or when you're on holiday or Christmas or whatever. And you can be stuck in this cycle where you're losing weight for a few days, gaining it back over the next couple of days, which is obviously a really frustrating position to be in, because it's very difficult to get out of that cycle and get on a more steady approach to weight loss. So your relationship with food is absolutely key, and counting calories can be quite detrimental for that relationship with food. And another big reason why we don't rely on calorie counting is because it can really suck the enjoyment out of food, and food is something that should be enjoyed. It's something that brings people together. It's something that we should look forward to. And if every time you go around someone's, you go out to dinner, or you're preparing a meal for yourself, you're having to check the calories, rethink what you're having because it's too high in calories, then it's just a very draining way to approach your food intake. And the biggest reason why we don't love calorie counting is because while you do need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight, it is a short-term solution if that's the only thing that you're focusing on. Because when you are in a calorie deficit for a prolonged period of time, your body adapts and it adjusts to that lack of calories coming in and reduces the amount of energy you're using and therefore calories that you're burning in order to prevent starvation. Because if your body's consistently getting the message that there's a lack of calories available or a lack of food available, then you're going to be gradually reducing your metabolism so that you don't starve. And that might sound very dramatic, but back when we were cave people and we were not carrying extra weight and food was much more scarce, then your body would have had to have taken quite drastic action to prevent starvation. And we are still, metabolically the same as we were back then. So taking this calorie counting approach can work, but it's often a very short-term approach because of the way it impacts your metabolism. And instead, what we want to do is we want to build up your metabolism. We want to make it so that your body's burning more calories at rest, so that it needs more calories, so that it's easier for you to stay in that calorie deficit rather than having to reduce the amount of food you're eating time and time again to continue losing weight. Instead, if we build up your metabolism, you can stay in a calorie deficit without having to have these plateaus and rebound weight gains when you eat something that's not so nourishing or inflammatory. So how do you achieve that without counting calories? How do you stay in a calorie deficit without counting calories? Well, we find that when you get the nutrients right, the macro balance right, then you can actually eat to appetite. And maybe not initially when you first start making changes, but once you've got the balance right and you've been consistent with it for a few weeks, your body is really good at recognizing when it's full, what it needs. Your cravings are telling you something, and if we listen to those, then we can tune into what it is your body needs. Is it that your blood sugars are crashing? Is it that you need salt? Is it that you need minerals? It could be any number of things that your body is telling you. So when you get the balance right, you can eat to appetite and still lose weight. When you're getting the balance right, it's very difficult to overeat consistently. So that's what we do instead in the Nourish Method. And we do a little bit of tracking macros, just really for a couple of weeks to help people get a good grip of what their balance should be. And we base those recommendations on what it is that's going on for them, what their thyroid's doing, what their stress level's like, what their gut's doing and all that sort of thing. So the macro balance looks different for each person, but each of them does some macro tracking, if not everyone, because it's not right for everyone, but a lot of them do it for a few weeks as an educational tool to find out more about what they're eating and what foods fall into what category and that sort of thing. And we find that sets them up for being able to eat to appetite and seeing steady results. So that's what we do in our program, the Nourish Method, and what I've been talking about today about rebuilding your metabolism so that you can lose weight consistently. We are running a challenge which starts on Monday, and that is called the Mend Your Metabolism Challenge. And this has been really popular so far. I've run it several times this year, so far. We've had some really, really great results. It's all about laying the foundation to get you building up your metabolism, and it's about more than food. We're looking at food, but we're also looking at several other things, a few lifestyle factors that can really impact the way that your body burns and stores fats. For example, we'll be looking at things like your toxic load and obesogens. We'll be looking at the hormones that contribute to stubborn belly fats. We'll be looking at the hormones that control the speed of your metabolism, and much, much more. So if that sounds good to you, then we're starting on Monday, and I'll really look forward to seeing you there. I'll drop the link in the comments so that you can register and save your space. I look forward to seeing you there. Bye.